Let kindness set the world aglow, and be kinder than necessary. To everyone, be a sanctuary. The sun shines and never counts the cost of all its rays. None is ever lost. Its glow falls in shadows and light, with no regard for what's wrong and right, illuminating the nights of our despair, inviting us into its circle of care. May kindness like the sun shines and never counts the cost of all its rays. None is ever lost. Its glow falls in shadows and light, with no regard for what's wrong and right, illuminating the nights of our despair, inviting us into its circle of care. May kindness, like the sun, radiate for all to see, and be kinder than necessary. To everyone, be a sanctuary. Everyone is battling their darkness. Let the light of compassion disarm us. Here we can rest in its open seclusion, where all of creation breaks from illusion. Here a kind word can lighten our load. A warm touch feels like love bestowed. Here we drop our heavy shield, and our true purpose is revealed. To be kinder than necessary. To everyone, be a sanctuary. Everyone is battling their darkness. Let the light of compassion disarm us. No act of kindness is ever wasted. It's the only way true love is ever tasted. Here at the tip of our tongue is love's song ready to be sung. If your kindness is ever refused, don't let your ego be bruised. Open up your heart and let it flow. Let kindness set the world aglow, and be kinder than necessary. To everyone, be a sanctuary. The sun shines and never counts the cost of all its rays. None is ever lost. Its glow falls in shadows and light, with no regard for what's wrong and right, illuminating the nights of our despair, inviting us into its circle of care. make kindness like the The sun shines and never counts the cost of all its rays. None is ever lost. Its glow falls in shadows and light, with no regard for what's wrong and right, illuminating the nights of our despair, inviting us into its circle of care. Make kindness like the sun radiate for all to see, and be kinder than necessary to everyone. Be a sanctuary. Everyone is battling their darkness. Let the light of compassion disarm us. Here we can rest in its open seclusion, where all of creation breaks from illusion. Here a kind word can lighten our load. A warm touch feels like love bestowed. Here we drop our heavy shield, and our true purpose is revealed. To be kinder than necessary to everyone, be a sanctuary. Everyone is battling their darkness. Let the light of compassion disarm us. No act of kindness is ever wasted. It's the only way true love is ever tasted. Here at the tip of our tongue is love's song ready to be sung. If your kindness is ever refused, don't let your ego be bruised. Open up your heart and let it flow. Let kindness set the world aglow, and be kinder than necessary to everyone. Be a sanctuary. The sun shines and never counts the cost of all its rays. None is ever lost. Its glow falls in shadows and light, with no regard for what's wrong and right, illuminating the nights of our despair, inviting us into its circle of care. Make kindness like the sun shines and never counts the cost of all its rays. None is ever lost. Its glow falls in shadows and light, with no regard for what's wrong and right, illuminating the nights of our despair, despair, inviting us into its circle of care. Make kindness like the sun radiate for all to see, and be kinder than necessary to everyone. Be a sanctuary. Everyone is battling their darkness. Let the light of compassion disarm us. Here we can rest in its open seclusion, where all of creation breaks from illusion. Here a kind word can lighten our load. A warm touch feels like love bestowed. Here we drop our heavy shield, and our true purpose is revealed. To be kinder than necessary to everyone, be a sanctuary. Everyone is battling their darkness. Let the light of compassion disarm us. No act of kindness is ever wasted. It's the only way true love is ever tasted. Here at the tip of our tongue is love's song ready to be sung. If your kindness is ever refused, don't let your ego be bruised. Open up your heart and let it flow. Let kindness set the world aglow, and be kinder than necessary to everyone. Be a sanctuary. The sun shines and never counts the cost of all its rays. None is ever lost. Its glow falls in shadows and light, with no regard for what's wrong and right, illuminating the nights of our despair, inviting us into its circle of care. Make kindness like the sun shines and never counts the cost of all its rays. None is ever lost. Its glow falls in shadows and light, with no regard for what's wrong and right, illuminating the nights of our despair, inviting us into its circle of care. Make kindness like the sun radiate for all to see, and be kinder than necessary to everyone. Be a sanctuary. Everyone is battling their darkness. Let the light of
The second bell worked. Good morning, and we invite you to take your seats as we get ready for today's service. Oh, what a beautiful morning. And it's beautiful not because it's so hot, but because you're here. On behalf of the worship committee, welcome to Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Columbia. My name is Pat Moore, and I'm a member of the worship committee and your service leader for today. Our minister is the Reverend Stephen Robinson, but today we have a special speaker, Deborah DePaoli. Am I pronouncing that right? Yes. And it's Deborah or Deb, not Debbie. Deborah, this is the second time she's spoken to us. Let me just tell you a little bit about her right quick. She started her career in public education and community development at the age of 17 when she was working with migrant farm workers and their children in Southern California. And she served for years as a public school teacher and administrator working with vulnerable students and second language learners, under-resourced preschoolers, and children of low-wage earners. Deborah has lived in South Carolina for 20 years, and she currently works for the Institute of Child Success, where they engage with families, agencies, and elected officials to advocate for children. She's most passionate about improving access to high-quality education for all children, democratic engagement, and real opportunities for establishing generational wealth. We warmly welcome families with children, and we offer nursery childcare during our service for infants and children up to 4 years of age. We also have a designated seating area back there in the alcove, and the carpet right over there for children to engage in quiet play. And you can feel free to get toys from the social hall to take over there. Today, all the children beyond nursery age will be joining one another in their CYRE classes. Please note that we live stream services and they're posted on our YouTube channel. So if you prefer not to be on camera, the alcove's out of view of the camera, so you can sit over there if you like. We're a congregation who welcomes and affirms everyone, and we're a diverse and non-creedal religion, which means we don't have to believe the same to treat each other the same, with respect, compassion, dignity, and equity. We encourage everybody to stay connected with our community by keeping an eye on the following communications. Our recurring events are included in the calendar that you get with your order of service, but special events will also be coming up. We provide an email newsletter every Thursday to keep you informed about these events. Make sure we have your email address if you would like to get those newsletters. And listen to any special announcements that will come from our communications committee at the end of today's service. We're delighted also to welcome all of our visitors, our guests and visitors, and we'd love it if you're willing to introduce yourself today. And Deb Matherly is going to be assisting us with the microphone and taking it around, so if you'll wait until it reaches you. And tell us who you are and where you're from.
Hi, good morning. I'm Kate Noel Wells. We have somebody very special with us today. This is Gabby from Brazil, and she will be living with our family until early January.
She's an exchange student.
Oh, and also feel free to introduce any guests you might have brought.
Good morning, I'm Lydia. I'm here with my mom. She's visiting us from Ecuador. Her name is Miriam.
Hi, everyone. I'm James, and I'm involved with the CUPS group, and I started coming, I think, about 1999. And I've been kind of on and off attending. So, hi, Ryan. Hi, everybody else I know here.
Good morning. I'm Sophia Gutstein from Columbia, South Carolina. Just visiting today with my friend Cami. Good to be with you all.
Okay, we're delighted to welcome all of our guests and visitors, and we'd love to meet you if you'd be willing to, well, you've already introduced yourself, but hang around the social hall afterwards too, and so people can talk to you. If you'd like to learn more about the UUCC, there's visitors cards in the back of the seats of each chair. Please fill one out and place it in the collection plate so we can email you about our events. We also have information on the membership table after the service, the table in the hall. It's the one with the red tablecloth. Our board members and committee chairs welcome your questions and comments. Now, board members wear green name tags, and thank you for being with us today. A mention of today's flowers. They are provided by our flower team. And please see Mara Farley over there. I'm sorry. Oh, I missed that. Kate Noel brought those. Thank you. Please silence all devices as we center ourselves for today's service.
Our prelude selection today is Where We Used to Play by Spencer Brewer.
Thank you, Anna. If you will join me, it's time for our congregational covenant. Please stand if you're willing and able. Okay, somebody start me. I left my... The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community. But we don't another. I remember most of it, just the first line. Now it's time for our chalice lighting. A flame within a chalice is a primary symbol of the Unitarian faith tradition. Each week we light the chalice to signal the entry of our congregation into a sacred space, creating a reverent atmosphere for our service, meditation, music, and reflection. Today's chalice lighter is Breedlove. Don't sit down yet, Breedlove. They got to see you. Like Cher, she only has one name. And you can see, she's an active member of our social action team. And if you go to any protest in Columbia, you'll recognize her by her distinctive style. You can see her across the room. Thank you, Breedlove. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage, our spirit of life, and life enrich our minds and our souls, or something of that nature.
Our opening hymn is number 396. I know this rose will open. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join in singing. This song can be sung as a round, but I'm going to invite you all today just to sing together in unison with me. We'll go through it a number of times. If you do see the numbers above the music and feel comfortable singing in round or moved to sing in round, I invite you to. If you could listen one time through and then join me in singing. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Love that drum, Anna. Okay, now is the time, the story for all ages, and if our children will come in. I'm going to read a story today, aided by my Vanna, Deb Matherly. Hello, everybody. Made it in, okay. Oh, thank you. You need, okay, all right. Thank you, Leo. Okay, this story is called Say Something. The world needs your voice. And the little girl, Hannah, let's call her, is saying, mine, yes, yours. Go ahead, it doesn't need to be perfect as long as it comes from your heart. And she says, you don't have to be loud. Powerful words can be just a whisper. You can say something in so many ways. You can say it with words, you can say it with behavior, you can say it with creativity. If you see someone lonely, say something by just being there for them. Just go over and sit by them. And if you see an empty canvas for just waiting for somebody to draw something, say something with your brush. That's another way to say something. If you see an empty lot, say something by planting a seed and waiting for it to bloom. If you see someone being hurt, say something by being brave. Look, this little boy saying, hey, stop. If you see something beautiful, say something with a poem. Have you ever written a poem? Try it, it's fun. Or if you have a brilliant idea, say something with confidence. Tell people your idea. If you want to show the world who you are, say something with style. See, that's what Breedlove does. If you're angry, say something to help people understand why you're mad. See, this little girl is saying, you made me feel invisible, and that really hurt me. And he says, I'm really sorry. Sometimes that's all it takes. If you see an injustice, say something peacefully. Do you know what an injustice is?
Something that isn't right.
Isn't right, something that isn't fair. That's right, that's right. See, this one is this sign is saying no more hurting anybody, peace. Inspire other people to do the same. When you say something, that's what you can do. Other people get brave too. Sometimes you'll say something and nobody's going to be listening. But keep saying it. Keep saying what's in your heart. And you'll find someone who'll listen to you. Keep saying it. She's got all the 1,000 birds she's saying it to. Keep saying it, and you may be surprised to find that the whole world is listening. If you're grateful for being alive, quietly say something to the universe. Some people find it easier to say something than others. I know that some people don't like to. But everybody has something to say in some way. So when you're ready, say something. Your voice can inspire, heal, and transform. Your voice can change the world. Are you ready to say something?
Avocado.
Different strokes for different folks, okay. Thank you.
I invite you to join me in singing the children out. The words are in your order of service. Learn your lessons well, my children. Seek your truth in the wide unknown. Love each other, work together, and search for wisdom and happiness.
Good morning, friends. I invite you to unite so that we can create change for ourselves, change for our communities, and change for the world. I have a quote from Rosa Parks. She said, "I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear."
And now's the time for our candles of community. We come to this time in our service where members and friends light a candle of great joy or personal concern. If you have a personal joy or concern to share from this pulpit, please email or text our administrator by noon on Friday. You can also pick up a candle in the foyer before the service to share in person. We'd also like everybody to remember that we do have an active caring committee. Caring committee whose members wear yellow name tags, and they're available for those in need. If you have a candle, please come forward and briefly share your joy or concern.
Hi, I'm Jean Capalbo, and let me pull it up here. I want to just keep it brief. Many of you may have known Tom Howell. If you didn't know him by name, he sat in the back of the alcove, and he often stayed for the social gathering after the service. He was a quiet man, and I'm sad to tell you that he died last Saturday at a nursing facility off of North Trenham Road. He was very private. If you talked to him, you heard a voice that sounded like he was an announcer on a classical music station. In fact, he loved classical music, and he'd often come to Matthew Ganong's piano concerts here on Saturdays. He also went to musical programs at the university. He came to fundraisers here. He would often go out to lunch after the service with a number of people. He was a member of the Social Action Committee. He took part in ARE programs. We were his community. We were his community. He had been a teacher in the Richland County Public Schools for a long time. He retired about 20 years ago, and he was a history teacher. He joined the church, or he started coming to the church about 10 years ago, and immediately got involved with the Social Action Committee. He spent a lot of time at the Wheatley branch, at the Richland County Public Library, or Wheatley branch, doing research on climate change and conservation. That's what he really got into after he retired. He would print out papers and bring them to church and share them with people who he felt would be interested. We also, one time, we had a display of his printouts in the social hall. He would go to the State House with these printouts and hand them out to representatives. He was keenly interested in conservation. I was going to keep this short. Maybe I should stick to my program here. That's it. Well, I'm going to miss Tom, and I know those of you who knew him as a very private and calm and very quiet person. Would you like to share something?
Yes. So I knew Tom through the story circle that I facilitate he was a regular, not just a regular attendee, he had perfect attendance. And I often joked with him about having to come up with a certificate of perfect attendance. But then there was one day, maybe a couple months ago, when he didn't show up. It was the first time ever. And we were all concerned about him. We thought it was possibly health-related. And then he came back the next week. And if you know Story Circle, we begin by saying, "Since I saw you last," and we can say anything we want. So on that day when he came back, he said, "Since I saw you last, I got the nail out of my tire." And we were relieved that it wasn't health-related. And that is the only comment that Tom ever made that was not history-related, civics-related, or somehow activist-related, as Jean has already shared. When he would check in with us, "Since I saw you last," he would often say, "I've been reading and I've been thinking." And he shared several themes that he was concerned about. One being, quote, "As a society, we no longer gather in the town public square to discuss and debate civic issues." He did not like technology. He didn't have a cell phone. And I think he had much disdain for how social media has taken over the notion that we should gather in a small town square and talk about important issues. He also thought that we should resume teaching civics to students in public schools. I even suggested to him that he consider teaching civics here. I think he was probably a wonderful teacher. He would also say, "Since I saw you last, I've been reading about Winston Churchill." He thought Winston Churchill was a wonderful writer, a wonderful speaker, and that we needed more politicians like Winston Churchill. He was a very passionate man, and he was very active in the Sierra Club. And that brings me to the point of just saying that I'm so glad we were all here to support him. Even my friend David Whiteman knew him in the Sierra Club. And when I was having lunch with David once, I said, "We're concerned about Tom Howell." David went home and found his address in the Sierra Club directory, which is the reason why we were even able to find out where he lived. And Jim Kimmler and I went out to visit and try to find him there. With a lot of pride, he shared that he took these documents down to the State House and told us the story about giving the document to one senator in particular. And then the following week when he was down there, the senator came up to him and said, "That message was great, Tom." And he would be so passionate about saying that. And we love Tom, and we will miss him.
I probably knew Tom a shorter time than anybody else, but I sought him out after Story Circle meetings, and we immediately knew that we had a couple things that we like to talk about. One was living in France, and the other one was food. And I said, "So what type of food would you like to have most of all?" He said, "I would love to have a ribeye." And I said, "Me too, I'm gonna make that happen." So I went out and bought a stack of ribeyes that I'm trying to figure out what to do with now.
One more thing. I did get to see him about 3 days before he died, and I let him know that people were thinking about him and missed him. And Stephen went to see him 2 days, I think, before he died. So he did know that we loved him.
We also made contact with a neighbor. I just want to share this. The neighbor said that Tom went out of his way to take care of people in their apartment building by making sure doors were locked and that new residents learned how to put out the trash. People like Tom are going to be missed.
So there won't be a service for Tom, so this is his memorial. I light this candle for Tom Howell.
People come to the UU sometimes for spiritual or religious connections. Sometimes it's for a safe place to debate. Sometimes it's for coffee and snacks. Sometimes it's for community. In children and youth religious exploration, we aspire to all of these things all at once at every class. And when it happens, it's magic. About a decade ago, when my 3 kids were in the high school program here, it was full of high schoolers. I don't know if you could imagine it. We had at least a dozen high schoolers. And here, they made a friend for life named Boone Dawson. Boone had a deep and easy laugh. He was brilliant, and he used his mind to explore music and science and acting and engineering, and he tinkered with everything. There wasn't a person who met Boone that didn't become his friend. I am so glad that I got to see him on the 4th of July. He pulled up to my house while I was outside, and it was this massive vehicle that I could only describe like a matchbox car that was put into some kind of device that made it huge. He was rebuilding it because that's what he did. This candle is for Boone and his family, Garrett, Gail, and David, and for all the cousins that he made under this roof. Rest in peace, sweet Boone.
A lot of sadness today. So we light one more candle for all the unspoken concerns and joys. And I just want to take the liberty to say something that's not on the program, just a minute. I didn't know about Tom. So thank you guys for informing the congregation. Tom has come to the forum for years also. I've never known a gentler or kinder and at the same time smart person. He'll be missed. Let's have a minute of silent meditation to ponder our joys and concerns. Thank you. This congregation proudly participates in our Michael Sullivan Share the Plate initiative, where half of our monthly cash collection is donated to a local charity. It's one way we give back to the community. This month's Share the Plate is Palmetto Place Children and Youth Services. If you'd like to contribute to Share the Plate, please write Share the Plate in the memo line of your check or on your donation envelope.
Today's offertory musical selection is The Teacher by Brian Mann.
Would the ushers please come forward? Beautiful, Anna. We sincerely appreciate these gifts, which reflect the generosity and kindness of our community.
Greetings, friends. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. My message this morning is Our Faith, Their Future, Speaking Truth to Power for the Sake of the Child. I think we all recognize the vulnerability of children and, in many situations, the powerlessness of children. Because of that, we each have the unique opportunity to advocate for children, and I think we all do it naturally in lots of settings. Maybe you'll just be at the grocery store and there's a child trying to get the attention of the staffer, and you'll say, "Oh, my friend here was asking a question," right? We'll just kind of naturally step into those spaces. And especially for the children that we love, the little girl on my pin is my goddaughter, Kiana. She started 5-year-old kindergarten this week. This was a picture from last year, her first day of 4-year-old kindergarten. But I know that each of us have a child that we love. And oftentimes we're stepping into those spaces to advocate for that child. Sometimes we're calling the pediatrician's office to remind them about the referral to the ENT. Sometimes we're going to the school to make sure that the child's getting the services they need. Sometimes we're talking to another family member about a gap that we see that child really needs. So I want you to picture here in Columbia some of the spaces that we don't always see. We all kind of have our daily routines. We wake up in our neighborhoods. We go to either our places of employment or different community organizations that we're a part of. And then we have our grocery store that we prefer. We like to go to this branch of the library. And a lot of times we drive right by some of the smaller streets, some of the little back ways where we have profound examples of extreme poverty here in Columbia. I try to remind myself every morning of the immense amount of privilege that I have. I wake up in a house that's 72 degrees, right? I open a freezer and a fridge that are chock-a-block full of food. I have a car that's reliable. I have health insurance. So many things that I am very intentional about not taking for granted. I worked in Richland School District 2 for 9 years and had the opportunity to do a lot of home visiting with our families in the 4K program. There are houses, there are trailers, there are apartments where children live that are not fit for human habitation. And it's all that their families can afford. When I moved here 20 years ago, you could rent a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for maybe $895, $950, depending on where in Columbia. That same house now will cost you $1,600 a month. And we haven't seen salaries increase, right? So the salary that someone was earning 20 years ago maybe allowed them to afford a house, or maybe they had to share a house with another family. There's no way that that same salary now can even stretch that far. Because of the level of privilege that we have, the level of education, the mobility, the access that we have this amazing power to step up and advocate more for children. And I know it can be, first of all, it can just be kind of confusing, like what should I actually do? Where should I go? Who should I talk to? And then even then, when we kind of have a better idea of what to do, it can feel overwhelming, it can feel intimidating to step into those spaces. I looked at some of the verses in the Christian tradition and the Jewish tradition that talk about overcoming fear, right? And it doesn't mean that we ignore the fear. It doesn't mean that we shame ourselves or suppress those feelings. It means that we address it and move forward anyway. I used to be a teacher, and then I was an administrator in public ed, and a lot of times during African American History Month, we tell the story of Rosa Parks, but we don't tell the whole story. We talk about how she was on the bus and she was asked to move to the back, and she refused to do so. We talk about it as if that were a moment where she was seen and celebrated, which is 100% inaccurate. No one on the bus was saying, yeah, that's right, don't move back. That's right, stay where you belong. No one, right? She ended up being fired from her job. Her husband had to leave his job. They actually had to move to another state because of the levels of violence that were threatened against them because of her action. So what she did was not something that felt good at the moment. I'm sure she was terrified at that moment, right? And then later, we all like to think, oh, if I were on the bus, I would have been applauding her. I would have been standing up with her. I would have been defending her. So I want you to keep that picture in your mind and look at the things that we still need to work on today, and how can we step into those spaces with boldness. When we look at the systems in our community, I don't believe that the systems are constructed intentionally to marginalize people all the time. Sometimes, sure, but I think it just becomes the complexity, right? We all know that even for our own care, you're trying to get you're trying to see the specialist about your dermatologist or this or that. You call your primary care physician, they don't answer. You call again, you go to their website, you put in the request. Just the levels of complexity in our modern world make things difficult, even for those of us who have English as our first language. We already, we know where things go, we have Wi-Fi. So sometimes there can be intentional marginalizing and suppression, but I think a lot of times it's just the complexity of our systems that keep families from accessing the services that they need. Working in the school system, I was talking to an administrator at one point, and I was talking about services for children with developmental delays, children with acute health problems. And I mentioned nonprofit that focuses on children's special needs. And I was told, oh, Deborah, you need to be careful about who we partner with. We need to be careful about who we're aligning ourselves with. Wow, did you just say that part out loud? I'm talking about an organization that makes sure that children get the therapies and the medical interventions that they need at a young age, and you're telling me to be careful who we partner with? Duly noted. You just told me everything I need to know about you. So thank you. I appreciate you mentioning that to me. And I'm going to go right ahead and do exactly what I was going to do to begin with, right? To be sure that children are getting those services that they need. So when we look at the situations here in Columbia, we look at the inequity, we look at the many barriers that people have to overcome. We sometimes hear messages about, well, families, families should take care of their children. Families should, do what's right, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of it goes back to a math problem. If someone is making $10 an hour, working 40 hours a week, that's $400 a week, right? 400 times 4 weeks out of the month, that's $1,600. Okay, there's gonna be some money taken out of their check. And now let's look at the cost for childcare. Childcare, the cost for an infant is usually around $200 a week, depending on where, $150, $200 a week. Okay, so let's do that math. We want to support children and families, but we just set up a system where someone who's working full-time can barely afford childcare, much less rent, food, car insurance, a car payment, all those kinds of things. I think back on my own life, when I was a little girl, in 1973, I was 2.5 years old, and my great-grandmother gave my mom $3,000. She was still living, and she wanted to be sure that that she could see her grandchildren benefit from the money she had saved up. She lived in a single-wide trailer in San Diego. She was a secretary. She did not have a lot of money, but she gave my mom $3,000. My parents bought a tiny little house outside of Los Angeles. A year later, my dad lost his sight due to type 1 diabetes. He had been losing his sight in one eye for a couple years, but hadn't bothered to, tell anybody. And he was a jailer at that point at Los Angeles Police Department. So when he started to lose sight in his other eye, he couldn't fake it anymore, right? So a couple years later, we moved down to San Diego to be closer to family. My parents sold the house in Los Angeles and bought a house outside San Diego in 1977 for $55,000, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, which we never would have been able to buy if my gram hadn't given that money to my mom. Because of my dad's blindness, I grew up on Social Security disability, food stamps, Medicaid, but because of that key gift from my great-grandmother, my brothers and I lived in the same neighborhood our entire childhood. We had friends ever since we were little, all the way past high school graduation. We had access to stable health care, the reliable pediatrician. I looked up what is $3,000 in current day money. It's only about $21,000. So, not the $21,000, I don't have that much in my pocket right now, but $21,000 is not $1 bazillion, right? But it was enough to provide that safe, stable environment for me and for my brothers. So you look at those kinds of key investments, making sure that children have high quality early care and education. We know so much now about brain development, and we know that what happens in the first 36 months of life literally wires a child's brain for success, right? So many families are struggling just for that basic need. I hear about families where it's a single mom and she lives in an apartment complex. She's working second shift because that way she can get her kids to and from school during the day. And then when she gets home at night, the neighbor has the key to the apartment. And once the kids are asleep, the neighbor locks the door while mom's at work. And something, oh, that's terrible. Oh, that mother is being so irresponsible. What would you suggest that she do? If she was working during the day, what would she do to be sure her children were getting to and home from school safely, right? So we put these unrealistic expectations on parents and then don't put those key supports in place. The same thing is true for food, for healthcare, all those things that really are absolutely necessary for children. About 11 years ago, it was January of 2015, and we had just elected a new superintendent of education, Molly Spearman. I was serving on the board at that point for Richland County First Steps, and I was invited to go listen to Superintendent Spearman speak for the first time to the joint education committees, the Senate Education and the House Education Committee. So it was I know we can barely remember this, cold, wet January. That will happen again. It doesn't feel like it's even possible at this moment. But I went down to listen to the superintendent, and it was good to hear the things she was talking about. As I was leaving in the elevator, you know how you do that, like, oh, hey, how are you? How's your day going? Oh my goodness, it's so cold, whatever. So I was speaking to this young woman, and she said, oh, I drove up here from Charleston. What do you do for work? I said, oh, I work in early education in Richland too. She's like, oh my gosh, I do advocacy work in early education. We should exchange cards. Her name is Katie Seppi. So I started volunteering at that point for Save the Children Action Network. I had already been working in public ed for more than 25 years at that point. And my focus had always been on serving the children and the families at the schools where I was working, right? As I started to volunteer more with Save the Children Action Network, I realized there's only so much we can do within a faulty framework, right? The best teachers, the best educators, the best administrators, if they're working within policies that are ineffective, there's a limitation to how much they're going to be able to accomplish. So I started to get more and more involved. When Katie got a promotion, I started working for Save the Children Action Network. And then 4 years ago, I started working for Institute for Child Success and the Early Childhood Common Agenda. Here's my encouragement to you. Our friends were talking about the way social media has taken over the way we get information and very much polarized us, right? It's like you're either bright red or you're bright blue, and nobody in the middle can meet. I would provide you this encouragement. Working at the State House for the last 10 years, advocating on behalf of children, I have been surprised and delighted to see that the vast majority of our lawmakers on both sides of the aisle want to do what's right for children. There's a small percentage, I won't say any names right now, that I don't really feel the need to even say hi to because they just truly don't seem to want what's best for children. But the vast majority of our lawmakers want what's best for children. Most of them are not educators. Most of them are not pediatricians. Most of them are not child life specialists. They're not child psychologists. They're attorneys, they're real estate developers. So they need us. They need to hear from us because each of us was a child, right? That's 100% of us, right? We were children. Each of us loves a child or children, and we can step into that space and bring that voice of love and unity. And we have the expertise to share. We have the stories to share that they may not have heard. Now, could we fault them for not getting out in the community and more intentionally learning? Sure, but in the meantime, we can step into that space and give them opportunities to do what's right for children. When I come back in a minute with the closing words, I'm going to give you 4 different ways that you can get involved and start to kind of build that advocacy muscle, give you some concrete steps on how each of us can use our voice more to create that justice and create those opportunities so that the children in our communities can thrive. So thank you.
Our closing hymn is in the teal hymnal. It's number 1051, We Are, by Issei Barnwell. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join in singing. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nation. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
All right, so what I am presenting to you right now is a menu. Just like if you were to go out to lunch after the service, you wouldn't expect to order every single thing on the menu, right? You would pick the things off the menu that appeal to you. So I'm going to give you 4 different things and you can pick those menu items that appeal to you. If you want to do all of it, you please feel free, but it's not a guilt trip, it's an opportunity. The first thing I would encourage you to do is identify power. And one of the good ways to do that, if you go to Google and you put in Common Cause, who are my representatives? I like the Common Cause website because they're completely nonpartisan and they will give you the names and the contact information for every single person who represents you as an elected member of government, all the way from federal, all the way down to city. So you'll put in Common Cause, who are my representatives, it'll open their website, and then you can put in your street address. Of course, you're gonna put your home address. You're not gonna put a post office box or something else, because you wanna be sure you're looking up who are the representatives where you live. And it will give you their website, it'll give you their phone number, it'll give you their email address, so you know who to talk to. right? That's your first menu option. The second one is to become a part of a unified group advocating on behalf of children, and that is the Early Childhood Common Agenda. I have invitation cards for you that have a QR code. We go and visit state and federal lawmakers all the time to talk about children's issues. Last week, we visited Senator Tim Scott's office, Representative William Timmons' office, and we met personally with Representative Joe Wilson to talk about children's issues. So it's happening all the time. We're always setting up those opportunities, and then all you have to do is come and share your story. And we don't do a scripted approach. We don't tell you, oh, here's what we're gonna talk about this time. We bring all of us in the room so we can each talk about the issues that are on our heart and how we wanna see things change for children. The third menu option for today is an opportunity to testify. Our Children's Committee at the State House is made up of 3 state senators, 3 state representatives, and the heads of every single child-serving agency. So Department of Social Services, Department of Disabilities and Special Needs, Department of Juvenile Justice, Department of Education, literally every single state agency that serves children is represented on that committee. And in the fall, they have a series of hearings, and you go and you get 3 minutes at the mic and you can share anything you want. So if that appeals to you, chat with me more. Otherwise, you can look that up. And I'm gonna give all of this to Mark so that you guys can have this as resources. But it's officially called the Joint Citizens and Legislative Committee on Children. Took me about 5 years to learn how to say that correctly, but it's just called the Children's Committee. So if you want to show up at the State House, it's happening across the state in September and October. You can show up, you'll get 3 minutes at the mic, and you can share a personal story or request as it pertains to children. And then the fourth menu option is looking at really changing infrastructure to support families. We have a one-day housing summit coming up, Housing Innovation Children's Edition. It's happening in October. So if you have a passion for housing and making sure that children have access to safe, stable, affordable housing, we have a one-day summit coming up, and we would love for you to join us. Friends, it has been my pleasure to share with you today. Whether you're able to take advantage of just one of these menu options or more, I would love to continue working with you in the future. I'd be happy to come back and do more, advocacy training, whatever would be beneficial to all of you. If you're part of other groups and you would like to invite me to come and speak, I would be thrilled. So I'm honored to share this space with you, and thank you for your welcoming hearts.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join in singing our congregational benediction. May the blessings of truth be upon us. May the power of love direct us. And may the peace of this community sustain us till we meet again.
Thank you. If you'll be seated for just a second, I just have one announcement. And this is about something you may have not have heard about, or you may, if you read the e-blast. Our annual Balenciaga, had to be taught how to say that, it's going to happen in October. And this is a dog and fashion show where you have local people wear designers and they walk their dogs. And this is on a fundraiser on behalf of the dog shelters and the UUCC. So it's really for a good cause. Look at the e-blast. It happens in October, and you can purchase tickets through the link in the e-blast, or you can talk to Blake Carlton. Blake, are you here today? Yes, he is. And he can tell you more information about it. Thank you to all our visitors again today, and our time's come to a close. But before you leave, please take a few minutes to welcome the visitors around you. For this week, may the road rise up to meet you. May it shine upon you, and may you find peace. Thank you.